Hey guys, finding the perfect gift for the food lover in your life is easy, thanks to Goldbelly. Goldbelly ships America's most iconic foods, straight from world-famous restaurants right to your door. So if you want to treat someone to Joe's Stone Crab from Miami, Franklin Barbecue from Texas, or desserts from famous foodies like Ina Garten or Martha Stewart, Goldbelly has you covered, with free shipping anywhere in the country. Just go to goldbelly.com and for a limited time, get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's promo code GIFT.
Your weekend is not complete without the First Lady of New York Radio. It's the Joan Hamburg Show. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
It's hot, it's muggy, it's typical New York in the summer, but I am so happy because I had Daniel Silva's new spy novel, A Death in Cornwall. I'm telling you, I love spy novels, and no one does it better than Daniel Silva. In fact, he's written 24 Gabriel Allon novels. He's one of my most favorites. He's probably the best novelist when it comes to this category of anyone. And if you haven't been a big spy writer fan, it's the perfect time to start. These are thrillers, and they're of everything juicy and perfect this time of year, whether it's deceiving people or betraying people or getting back at people. And I'm sure, Daniel, that once these books are out and about and everyone's talking, you're a very happy guy.
Writers, I think most writers, I should say, live pretty isolated lives, and I'm one of them. I'm locked away in a room trying to make my deadline every year. And this is the time of year that actually I emerge and get out on book tour and meet and talk to people. So it's a very exciting time. Thank goodness that the pandemic is over. I really did. I missed one whole book tour was all virtual, and then the next, when I finally went on the road, my first tour was, I would do events, but I couldn't do signings. And now that things are back to normal or mostly normal, to be able to have that interaction with people in person again is really wonderful. It's very important to me because, as I said, I really am pretty isolated when I'm writing.
No, and do you write every day?
Oh my gosh, yes. I find a day off to be just so disruptive. And my wife, wonderful wife, Jamie Gangel of CNN, is very cognizant of this, and she really tries to keep, travel days and interruptions down for me, because I'm really out of sorts if I don't get a chance to write every day. One of my little weird habits is that as soon as I finish one book, I have to do a lot of get prepared to go on book tour and some pre-publicity work. But once that is done, I start writing right away. And I finished a chapter of the new book literally the minute before you called. And so, I write every single day.
But are we talking about A Death in Cornwall?
We are talking about A Death in Cornwall.
Yeah.
We are talking about A Death in Cornwall.
No, I mean, was that the book that you had referred to as just finished?
Yeah. When I finished A Death in Cornwall, and I started the new one, the next summer's book straight away. For me, it's sort of therapeutic to get going on a new book. Otherwise, I sit and stare at the typescript of the old book and try to say, oh, gosh, I wish I'd done that a little better. I wish I could change that. Or the only way I can stop fiddling is to start a new book. And
do you start when you do that from scratch, or do you keep notes and cards and hang things on walls?
That is a great question. I don't want to say scratch, I don't have a whole lot except for the opening sequence and generally where the story is going to go. But I don't really have too much more than that. And even if I did, it probably wouldn't hold up. I like to describe my writing process as I write the books sentence by sentence. And I really mean that. Sentence by sentence by sentence by sentence. Yes, I know what I want to get out of a specific scene, but the flow of the sentences and the arrangement of the sentences has a great deal to determine how that scene is really going to play out in the end. And I make a tremendous amount of changes along the way, and I work through it. So really, my first draft is sort of like a very, 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 very detailed outline, and then I quickly write it a couple more times.
It's interesting. I love spy novels, yours in particular, and that Gabriel is an art restorer and a spy just is the perfect combination.
Yeah. So he would. It's accurate to say that I have written, numerous spy novels, but none of them have ever been, with a couple of exceptions, really traditional spy novels because of Gabriel's unique character. And this one is a spy novel only in the sense that Gabriel is a retired spy at this point.
Right.
So that my character is an art restorer who was once a spy. I think the more accurate way to describe my work at the moment is that it's a blend of genres and creates its own unique genre. This is definitely a blend of murder mystery, of caper heist fiction, and in the end, this is a political thriller. I mean, I'll give you the nickel version of the story, but Gabriel is asked by the police, a police officer in the Devon and Cornwall police in the southwest of England, to assist on a murder investigation. The victim is an art historian from Oxford, and she is killed in the part of England where Gabriel lived for many years. He knows it quite well, and one thing leads to another, and Gabriel finds himself in the middle of a enormous British political scandal.
Right.
And so it is a fast-paced, fun, at times quite funny, lighthearted summer caper mystery story. But like all my novels, it deals with a couple of real-world issues. In this case, it explores how fine art, and very expensive fine art, can be used for the purposes of money laundering and wealth concealment by the global super rich. And it also explores the extent to which London has become, quite frankly, I'm going to say it, the money laundering capital of the world.
And they don't want to give it up. We'll separate my book from and talk about the real world here. Successive prime ministers, going back to David Cameron and Boris Johnson, have said, we want to make changes. We don't want Great Britain to be the place where Russian oligarchs and kleptocrats and bad guys, the global bad guys, come to launder and invest their money. We don't want it to be that anymore. And they have passed some laws about transparency in the real estate market, for example. But the problem is that they haven't really enforced much of it. And the cases that they have enforced have been very piddly little things. And so I think it's fair to say that the London laundromat remains open for business. Or you remember Lehman Brothers, of course. Of course.
Lehman Brothers, the traders at Lehman Brothers used to refer to London as Guantanamo Bay. And the implication being that you could do things in London / Guantanamo that you couldn't do here in the United States. It was so laissez-faire and so lightly regulated and so wide open that you could do things in terms of your trade and your leverage that you couldn't do here in the United States. And look, the British economy is in trouble. It's shrinking. The importance of London as a global financial capital is receding, and so I think it is hard to imagine that they will take really meaningful steps to tighten up their financial regulation. Right. But this is real stuff. I mean, there was a shocking report that came out, a parliamentary report in 2001. It became known as the Russia Report. But the report said that Britain had done great damage to its financial sector and its political institutions by allowing all this Russian money to come into the country. That the Russians deliberately set out to weaken and corrode Britain's institutions, Britain's political system, using money, and that the British were essentially complicit in that Russian campaign, in that Russian effort, but with their lax financial situation. We are talking about hundreds of millions of pounds a year that is being laundered through London.
Right, and we sort of like it, and we like to blame the Russians.
Yeah, we like to blame the Russians, but there's a lot of people in the city of London, the Square Mile, as they call it, who've made an extraordinary amount of money. And then there are the ancillary businesses, like all the corporation lawyers and the estate agents and the property owners who made enormous profits on their luxury properties by selling them to Russian oligarchs. So a lot of people made a lot of money, but I think it did a lot of damage in the process. And I think it's a fair question to ask whether one of the institutions that was really damaged by the Russian money is the Conservative Party itself. This novel was inspired in part by the implosion of the Conservative Party, and I'm not sure our air date, but by the time, what is our air date on this one? On July 4th, the British are holding an election, right. and the Conservative Party. This is not some fly-by-night institution. This is the oldest
real party.
Oldest real political party, most successful political party in the civilized world, in the West. And it is about to be utterly annihilated, and to the point where we're not really sure what is actually going to emerge from the wreckage just yet.
No, but we love following the storylines.
I'm addicted to British politics, and I think my readers know that Gabriel Allon has got mixed up in British political scandals.
Right. How can we resist?
That was what I said. How could I resist when you see a British Prime Minister, a Tory, 49 days in office, poor Liz Truss, 49 days in office, she was run out. They had 3 prime ministers within a 7-week span in the autumn of 2022. An unheard of period of political turmoil. And it's, they're not alone. Our country is not doing so well. I think that anyone who watched the first debate the other night would you look at that and say that's a sign of a healthy democracy?
Right, and they're still talking
I don't
about
think so.
it.
I don't think so. That whatever else is going on is a straight up question. Is that a healthy democracy? Are those the 2 candidates who should be running for president of the United States? The answer is quite obviously no. France, we don't know what's going to happen in the next round of election, but it's quite possible that when we have the Olympics, France will have a far-right, neo-fascist government.
You're probably right.
And so this is real stuff, folks. The Western political Western democracies are in terrible shape.
Meta AI is the personal AI that's tailored to you, now with its very own app. It's built to get to know you, offering helpful answers and inspiration. Looking for something to add to your bucket list? Meta AI goes beyond traveling the world. It remembers you're a basketball fanatic and suggests you attend one of the playoff games. Just start typing or speaking to get the answers you need, wherever and whenever, because Meta AI is your personal AI. Download the Meta AI app, now available on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
Imagine this. The best pasta sauce you have ever tasted sits abandoned on a plate. Wasted sauce. That is a tragedy. If only you had used Barilla al Bronzo pasta. Its bronze-cut texture holds your sauce and scoops up every last drop. The Italians call that scarpetta. Capture sauce the Italian way. Barilla al Bronzo. Click or tap the banner to find out more.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Well, it's all
but I digress.
No, it's okay, because it's real and it's scary. And, you know, most of us are always looking for something, but how many of us are looking for a Picasso that's worth more than $100 million? How do you chase a painting like that? But Daniel does it.
Well, Gabriel does it.
Gabriel does it.
And it's getting harder and harder to find out where paintings are and who actually owns them these days. And this is something that I explore in the book, because most collectors, dealers as well, and this is something that emerged, we got a glimpse of this in the Panama Papers, actually, but most of the world's most powerful dealers and collectors do their dealing and collecting using anonymous shell companies.
Explain, if you will, to people who don't know what that means.
An anonymous limited liability shell corporation is an empty company that can hold anything from other companies to property, to airplanes, to art. The company behind the Panama Papers scandal, Mossack Fonseca, would create and manage these companies for you for a fee and register them in a place like the British Virgin Islands. And so the company might be called ABC Holdings, and that's all we know about the company. And the law firm that creates the company knows what we refer to the beneficial owner. And that's a key term, the real owner. And that's what happened in the Panama Papers scandal, was that their internal documents were leaked, and we were able to connect real names to shell companies. But getting back to my original point, art is increasingly owned by these shell companies.
Right.
And so it is hard to tell actually who owns a painting these days. If the person wants to conceal his ownership of a painting, or if a group of investors want to conceal their stake in a painting, they can do it using a shell company. They can sell the painting to another shell company. They can sell the painting to themselves using shell companies. And it gives them tremendous secrecy, of course, but it also allows them to conduct very profitable dealings, paying absolutely no taxes. Yeah. And this is at the heart of the book. An enormous amount of tax avoidance, tax evasion, tax fraud that can take place using art as a vehicle.
And all the different firms that are involved, your friendly law firm.
Your friendly law firm. I don't know about you, but I pay my taxes. I earn my living. My wife earns our living, and we hand over a good significant portion of our income every single year to the government. Most billionaires, including the richest people in the world, they pay nothing.
That's right.
They don't pay anything.
They don't go to Florida for the sun.
No, they don't. Well, they don't even need to go to Florida because they have no tax bill because of the way their finances and their wealth is structured. And so I have to say that I count myself among the center left, the Democrats, that we've got to find a way to get these people to start paying some taxes. We've got too many unfulfilled needs right now.
No, absolutely agree.
It's simply not fair. It's not fair.
Well, absolutely agree with you. And it's become so political and everything else that it's like a hot topic. Yes,
it is.
People are afraid to go there.
I'm not.
No, you're not. You're not. And in reading, A Death in Cornwall, which is the latest, is this 24?
It is. I was trying to figure that out the other day. It's the 24th Gabriel. Excuse me. 24th Gabriel Allon novel. 27th overall. So I have several more books under contract that will get me to my 30th novel.
Wow.
Fairly shortly. That's a milestone. I never imagined that
it would happen.
That I would hit. Yeah. Or I must say 25 Gabriel Allon novels. He was never supposed to be a continuing character in the first place, and I can't.
Yeah, but you know what? You literally took a chance and decided to do what you really loved, and that's to write.
Yeah.
With your character. And a lot of people wouldn't go there. They'd be afraid or they'd want to do what was safe, but you went for it. And it's made a big difference.
It was what I always wanted to do. I worked as a journalist for almost 15 years. I became a journalist because for the very specific reason that I thought it would help me become a novelist. My literary heroes were journalists first, and that turned out to be the case. But I feel very, very fortunate in that I was able to do what I set out to do, and that I've been able to continue doing it.
Right, as it grows
into the autumn of my years. I'm not in winter yet, but I'm definitely it's definitely mid autumn for me.
It's okay.
I'm not a young kid any longer.
It's still hot outside.
So
you're okay. Don't worry about it. And we're right along with you. And I forgot. I think you once told me your character, Gabriel Allon, who is he's got a very interesting profession. He's an art restorer. He's a famous spy. Where did he come from in your fertile brain?
He came. I think it's fair to say from a classic sort of character construction exercise that I went through. I think it's fair to say that he was an update of a character that appeared before him in my novels. This Russian assassin who, in his spare time, painted rather nice landscapes and watercolors, he was the fact that I turned him into an art restorer was just rather a bolt from the blue. I was having dinner with a friend of mine who truly is perhaps the world's finest art restorer, and I just said, okay, that's what it is. I was in his home, and he's got all these paintings around that he's working on, and I was always fascinated by art restoration and how it was done, and the more I studied it, the more it seemed to have a great deal in common with intelligence work. There are similarities to the process, and I think it was just partly, as I said, partly a character construction process, and then partly just sheer dumb luck. And I created a good character, that's for sure.
Created a great character.
Yeah.
And he's got an interesting profession, and it's about money, too, and everyone loves it. I mean, most people don't realize how lucrative.
Everything in the art world. Gabriel is and his wife own a restoration firm in Venice now. So much of the work they do, in effect, he works for a giant museum, which is that Venice is. So he does some outside work. His work is really not about money, but boy, the art world certainly is, and we are talking major money, and that's what makes it such a fertile ground, because it's fascinating, it's big money, there is a fair amount of dirty money flowing through the art world, and as governments have finally come to realize. And if they'd been reading my novels, they could have learned this a long time ago, because Gabriel has done some shenanigans with art and money in the past. But it's a perfect place to launder money, and to conceal money, and to hide money. I mean, think if you're a kleptocrat, and you have a couple $100 million that you've stolen from your government or your people, it's very easy to stash it abroad secretly in art. It really is.
Yeah, I think that's what you've taught us.
It's a perfect place. It is a perfect place.
Shopping is hard.
I can never find anything in my size.
I don't even know my size.
I buy my clothes the same place I buy my groceries.
There's a better way. Make it easy with Stitch Fix. Just share your size, style, budget, and done. Your personal stylist sends pieces picked just for you.
That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Free shipping and returns. No subscription required. Get started today at stitchfix.com.
Choice Hotels get you more for your money so you can maximize any road trip. Like with the road trippers we see here in their natural habitat, the breakfast area at a Comfort Inn. Here's a dad teaching his son how to make waffles, fluffy golden waffles. There's a mom making sure her daughter eats some fruit to avoid the "I'm hungry" from the back seat. And a sibling standoff over the last muffin. This is the cycle of vacation maximizationing in all its glory. Check into more. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Nicole Byer, helping you make those rooms flyer. Today's style tip: when it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild! Like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Ooh, fierce! This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
I know. You've given us a whole new group of spies and crooks.
Yes. Yes, I have.
No, but it is exciting, and
Thank you.
It's a great read, A Death in Cornwall. And every time and of course the problem is I finished it too fast. You know, I try to make myself read a lot slower, but you can't because you have to go to the next immediately to find out what happens.
I have to say that this is it's one of my pacier. It's got a lightness in the tone, a lightness in the touch, and it's very, very pacey. I think that the people who have read it have said that it's one of the quickest reads that I've ever done.
Yeah,
I think you can go through it it's possible to read it in an afternoon, to be honest with you. It moves very, very quickly.
Yeah, no, I did it in a night, and I couldn't put it down.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
that kind
couldn't
of read.
decide if we should all look for real estate in Cornwall.
Yeah, there's a little double meaning to that cover image, because a certain someone's wife picked up a rather substantial manor house at the end of the novel. So he'll be spending a little more time in Cornwall.
Okay, good. And make sure to take us along. Thank you, Danielle. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to talk to you.
Love to talk to you. A Death in Cornwall. Get it soon. You won't be able to put it down. I'm Joan Hamburg, and this is WABC. Stay tuned.